Hi, I'm Ben Meyer.
And I'm Rob Wright.
And this week we've decided to talk about some games that just haven't really found their audience. You know, it seems like every year there's a couple games that get really great reviews, a lot of acclaim, maybe even some buzz, but when they hit the marketplace, they just kind of fizzle, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
You know, and Rob is actually working on a longer piece about this. So I want to turn it to you and say, you know, what are a couple of examples that you foremost in your mind about this?
Well, there is actually a lot. You know, I was going through sort of the last 10 plus years of video PC games and looking at the different titles out there that have scored very highly with the critics and with the fans too. I mean, that's the important thing. And not every critically acclaimed title is a hit with actual gamers. But you know, back in the days of the late '90s with the Blade Runner, you know, PC game, Planescape Torment, that was a huge hit with PC gamers, but it never really sold a lot of copies. It's considered one of the greatest games ever. But more recently, there's a number of titles out there that you know, that had that buzz and that had that critical acclaim and were really thought highly of by the critics and just never caught on. One I just finished, actually, is Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem for GameCube. I've been going back and checking out a lot of the GameCube games that I didn't play because I didn't have a GameCube.
Like a lot of people.
Yeah, I can play them on the Wii, and there haven't been that many good Wii games, so I went back and looked at all the games. You know, I looked at, you know, top GameCube titles, and Eternal Darkness is on pretty much every one of them, in some cases in the top 5, right up there with Resident Evil 4. And it's a fantastic game. It's really innovative. It's really unique. And I've never played a game quite like it. It's got some stuff up its sleeve that I don't think any other game has. And it's just outstanding. I mean, it's...
What's another game?
Well, another title I would say that I picked up not too long ago and just started playing recently was Psychonauts, and that was...
It's a crazy game.
Yeah, it's an outrageously funny game. It's basically, it was created by Tim Schafer, who PC gamers know has a long, distinguished history with some great titles like Grim Fandango. And he went from LucasArts to Double Fine Productions, and he created Psychonauts, this new game, new property, I should say. It came out in 2005, and it you know, people used all sorts of accolades for this game. They said it revolutionized the platformer. Basically, it's set in a summer camp for psychic kids, and you spend the game as the main character, Raz, short for Rasputin, running around the summer camp, trying to improve your abilities, and then you discover a sinister plot, and you try to defeat the forces of evil. But it's crazy. I mean, you spend a lot of the time running around in people's heads,
right, and
fighting off figments of
So let me ask you this: this game has a pretty high conceptual setting. You know, you're running around in people's heads. You know, Eternal Darkness, same thing to a certain degree.
Yes,
it's
sanity meter.
It's sanity meter, pretty high concept thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that is one of the reasons why they didn't sell that well? I mean, it's a little bit hard to wrap your head around it. I mean, that's one of the things that makes it interesting, but sort of limits its audience.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it because, you know, with Eternal Darkness, you know, there's the sanity meter, and there's all these little tricks that the developer plays on you by making you think that the game has crashed or the sound has gone out, and all these different little tricks to kind of unnerve you. Psychonauts, it's not a traditional platformer. It's different. You know, you're playing a kid who's running around using all sorts of like psychic abilities, and it's great, but it is a little bit more high concept, and it's predicated on humor and comic timing and stuff like that. It's never really been big in games.
Well, yeah, another one that we talked about was Viva Pinata, which kind of fits in there. You know, it's a sandbox kind of title. It's very open-ended. You know, you're pinatas and you're trying to build a garden. So it doesn't really have a lot of the elements of gameplay that the popular titles have. So how do you think that fits in as far as like just not having a weapon that you can fire at aliens.
I mean, I think part of the problem is in a lot of these cases, I think it goes to what platform the game is coming out on. I mean,
Sure.
I don't think that 360 owners are the same type of audience that a Nintendo platform
Sure.
has, and I mean, it's not a kids game, but it's more designed for a younger audience that is not, intent on running around blowing stuff up, shooting stuff. So Viva Pinata, it's a great game. I mean, I don't use the word addictive lightly. I mean, I was pretty locked into this game. I thought it was incredible because it is. I mean, literally, you're in a sandbox. Not really, it's a garden, but the way you get to build it is just. I mean, it's very intuitive.
People have related it to The Sims, but The Sims has been wildly popular, and it wasn't. And that brings me back to that theme of kind of things that are just weirder. The Sims is set in these very concrete sort of environments where, something like Psychonauts or even Viva Pinata, it's like pinatas in a garden. I mean, it's just kind of nonsensical to a certain degree, and I think that might confuse. I mean, it's harder to sell, harder to market.
Yeah, when you're pitching this and people hear about the concept, they're like, a garden, you're running around, you're romancing worms and caterpillars and flies. And I mean, it doesn't sound too appealing. The same with Psychonauts. I mean, the premise, a funny game about a psychic kid, it probably doesn't really trigger something within most gamers to say, oh, I've got to have that. And same with another game, Beyond Good and Evil. Beyond Good and Evil is another highly rated game. I know a lot of people that love this game and think it's fantastic, and it's got a great story, great characters, but the idea that you're playing a female journalist running around a futuristic world, an alien planet, trying to decipher sort of this not so black and white, government conspiracy, it's got all these moral shades to it. Something like that, it's a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more heady than just running around blowing stuff up. And I think that probably contributed to it not having that appeal right out of the gate. So.
Yeah. Well, and this is not an uncommon thing in entertainment. In TV, I'm thinking of Arrested Development, a show that really critically acclaimed, really funny, huge fan base that was very passionate about it, but not huge enough even as a network show to keep it from getting canceled. And one of my favorite shows, The Wire on HBO, even on HBO has had to fight to maintain it, and some people are calling it the best television show of all time.
Oh, absolutely. The Wire blows away The Sopranos, and you look at Arrested Development, other good comedies like that get canceled, and 2.5 Men is the highest rated comedy on TV. So it's not indicative of gaming. This happens across entertainment, but like we were saying, maybe some hype for titles like this would actually help instead of, people say hype is a bad thing, but it
have to take a risk. Maybe there's a need for a platform that's sort of HBO-like that can take greater risks with games, but games take so much money to develop. It's hard to imagine.
That's true.
But that's all the time we have for this week. I'm Ben Meyer.
And I'm Rob Wright.
And we'll see you next time. Has it been laundered?
And wait, you are too. And you never wash that shirt.
I do wash it.
Do you know what it's like for me to come into this?
I actually have two.
Do you know what it's like for me to come into this video room and all hot under the lights with a shirt that's never been washed?
I have washed it. 1, 2. I have 2 black shirts and I rotate them.
My hero.